Now then, let me see. Yeah, this carries on for Ian Paisley, the man in his message as he was in his day, and he loved the term doctor. Sorry, just reminded me of something. He loved the term doctor. I won't go into the theological aspects, but it was a right old nutcase, an absolute Dundee, a right fruitcake that bestowed upon him the title Doctor. Bob Jones Senior, his name, that bestowed the title, and he was away with the fairies. He was completely away with the fairies. Oh dear, 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 that man. Oh man, he is. I don't know if he's still alive today, but he was away with the pigging fairies. It was Bob Jones. Right, this is William McGrath again. Okay, the one whom Paisley banned from attending a church service because of what the missionary had said about him. Okay, Paisley didn't take this man to the police, which he should have done, but just banned him. Okay, right. This again is the missionary carrying on from the missionary, and she's saying that the man she was referring to was William McGrath, the house father of Kincora, and a long-time associate of Ian Paisley before they fell out in the 1970s. Some of the RUC officers who investigate Kincora came to refer to him as the Beast. That is, McGrath, the Beast. What has now emerged is that Paisley also participated in the cover-up of the scandal in the early 1980s. And he actually did. This is well informed. Many of the residents of Kincora were raped by McGrath, Joseph Mains and Raymond Semple. These are the persons within Kincora. All of whom were convicted in December 1981. Others got away. Yeah. McAlpine for a start. These included Paisley's former bodyguard, John Dunlop McGee. Aye, now he was a nasty bit of work. Dunlop McGee, a sadistic loyalist paramilitary serial killer. Another was Pastor Willie Mullen. Oh my goodness. Willie Mullen is worshipped as a man blessed of God. You should see Willie Mullen. He looks like a frigging lunatic. Honestly, and I've seen people. I've actually seen people almost salivate over Willie Mullen. Absolutely amazing, but Willie Mullen looks like a frigging lunatic. An evangelical friend of Paisley. Paisley conceded that Valerie Shaw had informed him about McGrath's reign of terror, although not that he worked in Kincora. No, she did. Yes, she did say. She made accusations against Mr. McGrath, and she based them on the evidence of Mr. X. When I met Mr. X, well, Ian, how about telling us who Mr. X is? You're a Christian, aren't you? He would not miss Mr. McGrath, and of course, I did the only thing I could do. I put Mr. McGrath from taking part in an orange order, not reporting to the police, orange order service in my church. He wasn't a member of my church, but I took that discipline immediately, and I regret Miss Shaw didn't go to the police. Now, we saw that in part 1, didn't we? The ending of part 1. This is just reiterating it. Now, let's see what else we've got. Okay. Shaw, however, had gone to the ROC, but had received no help. Shaw also informed 2 senior figures at the church, who warned her Paisley would destroy her if she persisted in her campaign. Now that I also accept and wasn't a very nice man, this Paisley. Shaw's efforts to engage Paisley lasted a year and a half, after which she left the church in disgust. By the way, this information comes from Kincora abuse victim Richard Kerr, names MPs and celebrities, news article, November 2017. Okay, again, Kincora abuse victim Richard Kerr, names MPs and celebrities, news article, November 2017. Now we've got another one later on. Let's see what we have after this. Belying the distance Paisley alleged he placed between himself and McGrath, Paisley went on to associate typical, it really is, officiate at the wedding of Mr. McGrath's daughter Elizabeth on 22nd of January 1976. It should be stressed that Ian Paisley was not a child abuser. Well, yeah, fair enough, there's no evidence of that to be the case. However, he did side with child abusers, which makes him just as guilty by association, aiding and abetting. However, his actions were motivated by other factors, none of which can be benign. The point being, he was political. He was trying to get up the pig in greasy pole to the First Minister of Stormont. And those that don't know, the First Minister of the Stormont Parliament is basically the Prime Minister. And of course, once he got that, he then uncovered what he really was beneath the show. But on his way, he had trouble because people were being honest with him. Let's see. Okay, so the next one on this long list is 629. Okay, 629. Let's see, 6230. Oh, that was the... Right, Cumberland Hotel, Marble Arch. This is it. Okay, so let's have a look. Paisley comes up here again. Let's have a look. One evening, Kerr was at the bellhop station at the Cumberland Hotel when a colleague from the hotel's cafe strolled across and told him someone was looking for him. Right. The visitor turned out to be Ian Paisley. Kerr's recollection of what would unfold is vivid and sharp. Paisley was seated on his own at a table near a glass area and was wearing a suit with a hat that was placed on the table. He also carried a newspaper, which he placed on the table. A pair of men sat adjacent to him in professional dress. Whilst Kerr recognised Paisley, he did not know the others. They would not address him at any stage during the encounter that ensued. They created space between themselves and others. As Kerr recalls it, Paisley spoke with them. They were in earshot of our conversation. I was unable to discern if they spoke in an English accent. I do not know that they were accompanying Paisley because they joined him after our conversation was complete. Okay, what else have we got on there? So we're sitting at a table and there's some guys there. Paisley visited Richard at the Cumberland Hotel in London, accompanied by two well-dressed men, and warned him off from speaking about Englishmen of Kincora. Warned him off. Christian, warned him off. Hey? So his two handlers, basically, Paisley's two handlers, sat there as a threat. Intimidation, just sitting there. In other words, you know what happens if you don't. If you don't, back off. Eh? Huh? Only loved his hats. Oh, what's this? Paisley asked Kerr to be seated after I was speaking with him standing up. At the start of the conversation, I did not feel intimidated yet. As the meeting continued, I did begin to feel uneasy, Kerr recalls. Paisley knew he had been at Kincora and instructed him that if he was questioned by the police, he was not to mention anything about Englishmen at Kincora. I wonder what Englishmen he's referring to. Right, Mountbatten. Kerr was dumbfounded and responded, "What?" Paisley repeated the instruction and added that he was not to speak of other events that occurred in Belfast. I nodded my head. No verbal communication was made. The encounter only lasted about 10 minutes. Paisley left with the two men. I then went back to the Bell station, slightly disturbed, and I did not respond to any other bellboy's question. To another bellboy's question of the encounter. Eh? Kerr's impression of the other men was that they had behaved normally, and they didn't appear to be threatening. Initially, he had not been frightened by them, as they did not speak to me. It wasn't until later the evening after the meeting I did begin to feel concerned as to their intentions. He was a bit slow there, wasn't he? They were there just to impress that if you don't keep quiet, you know, the boys will be mad. How did Paisley know that Kerr had been in Kincora? Good question. Who told him Kerr was working at the Cumberland? That's a good question. Who told Paisley Englishmen had abused children at Kincora? Another good question. Why was Paisley prepared to help protect English paedophiles? Excellent. Who were the men who accompanied him? Who were these officials that Ian Paisley and these two intimidating persons who should have been intimidating if this fella Kerr had been awake, as it were? Why? You know, Mountbatten loved Ireland. Hello, Mountbatten and others. There was Jana. Jana liked Kincora. And others. But of course they got away with it. Though Mountbatten left his head and shoulders on the beach. And that's what you get for having dandruff. The following week, a white envelope arrived at the hotel. It contained black and white photographs of Kerr naked. The manager of the hotel, Mr. Gardner, showed them to Kerr, who was deeply embarrassed and made an excuse that they must have been posted by a jealous ex-girlfriend. Gardner let Kerr know that he was not pleased but did not dismiss him. So they try to get back at him by sending photographs to his manager, Mr. Gardner. Photographs of Kerr naked from somewhere. Okay. Crafty buggers. But all this here. And why Paisley? Why Paisley? Oh, here we are. Clint Massey, another Kincora survivor, revealed in 2015 that there was loads of people over from London. I have always assumed they were senior figures from Whitehall. I certainly heard English accents. The whistleblower Robin Bryans, see Village, October 2017. knew a lot of them, including Anthony Blunt. Oh, well, yeah. Burgess, McLean, Blunt and all those. Of MI5, another was decidedly gay looking man called Peter England. Brian told this author in 1990 that while he knew England was very well, he did not like him much. England was a former boyfriend of Sir Samuel Knox Cunningham, QC MP, QC Queen's Counsel MP, and had also a relationship with the Irish publisher Charles Monteith, both members of the Anglo-Irish Vice Ring. Peter England lived in London, had served in the Royal Navy during World War II and later went to work at the Ministry of Defence, MOD. He transferred to the Northern Ireland office in 1970s. This declassified files furnished to the Hart Inquiry demonstrate that some of his work involved oversight of the black propaganda activities of... What's the black prop? Come on. Of Army and Intelligence Service combined of Kincora to England and the Army and Intelligence Services. Okay, according to Brian's, the main thing to do with covering up Kincora related to England. This analysis makes perfect sense because England one had died in 1978 and therefore could not be named without fear of libel action. But more so keeping it quiet, really. Let's see now. 2, had a criminal record. He had been arrested and convicted for obscene behaviour in a London toilet. Hello, Tony. Hello, Blair. Just like Tony Blair. Number 3, his exposure would have blown the Kincora cover up wide apart. This is the point. Wide apart, for it would have demonstrated knowledge of the scandal at the highest level of the NIO and made nonsense of the claim that Kincora was an isolated aberration. The late Merlin Rees, a former Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, worked with England at Northern Ireland office. In his Northern Ireland memoirs, Rees described how England was a man of wide experience at the MOD, whose work over the next 3 years in Belfast was to prove invaluable, though the physical stress of the job may have contributed to tragically early death 1978. Moreover, he had said that England was a hard taskmaster, but at the same time he always showed concern for those working in the office. I'm not going to go on with that. I mean, you could say clearly England showed more concern for the staff than for the children he abused. By the time of his death, Bryans recalled that England had let himself go and was become scruffy. Now, the point being here, the central point here is death. This person had to be dealt with. Isn't it very, very unusual, could we use the word, that when a scandal is blown in this particular area of child buggery, that the person, the pinnacle of it all, dies? Ever stop to think about that? Here it is again. 1978. Some years back now, he died. So he couldn't be put on pig in trial for this lot. So his mouth was shut, because he might have retaliated and said, "Oh, I've had enough of this. I'm going to bring you buggers down with me." Just like Elm Guest House. Hey? All those papers. Hello, Kitty. We're sleeping, walking, living down. Oh, sorry. That's you, that is. Isn't it, moles? Kincora, all those papers. And if Carol Cassia had been allowed to live, what would she have told? But she wasn't allowed to live. Think about this. Right? Equally. Jimmy Savile's toddling along, doing his runs, fit as a fiddle. Fit as a fiddle. He's been investigated. It's upon the pinnacle of the investigation that he's going to be literally charged. Now, what is the establishment going to do? Oh shit. I mean, here's a fella here, well documented, well investigated. This has to go. He has to go. Because if he gets done, if he goes in the dock with all these picking cases, he's going to be found guilty of one of them. He's going to blast the establishment to high heaven. He's going to go, the Royals had this and the Royals had that and this MP had that and Prime Minister had that and this. The whole thing would have been blown. He had to go. Why do you think he died? At that certain time and not before. Too hot to handle. Max Clifford. No, I don't care what the papers say. I don't care. Because they're lying buggers. And the establishment are lying buggers. That's the nature. And they cover things up and they leave things out. They twist things so that we get the wrong impression. Max Clifford died in prison. Yeah, but how did he die in prison? Was he going to spill the beans? Because he had a lot to big and say. Did he get so angry in prison that he expressed it to his lawyers that he was going to spill the beans? He had to go. Dr. David Kelly, he had to go.